Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel. Thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about competence, or more to the point, incompetence, and that can be in any field of endeavor. It could be politics, it could be business. And I've done a few videos on this before, but I'm constantly amazed when I go to business meetings at how often or how unqualified the people are, and how often I go to these meetings to meet these hopelessly unqualified people that you wouldn't hire in a million years for these jobs, and people who are hired over the top of many hundreds, if not thousands or tens of thousands of better qualified people. It's almost as if they're absolutely determined. We must hire incompetent people. That is our mission. So, but it's coming from two sides. At the bottom and into the middle and upper middle, people are being put in there, race quotas, gender quotas, that sort of thing. There's also, if you look at the amount of very left-leaning people that you see in HR departments and diversity and inclusion officers, that sort of thing, you see that and I've spoken to HR managers sort of about this in social settings where they don't know that I have any particular interest in the subject, and they will openly say, look, we can't hire competent people. We cannot hire them because they'll make all these affirmative action and race gender quota hires. They'll make them feel bad about themselves, which will just create workplace discord and tension. So we just can't hire competent people. If we hire somebody who's competent, particularly if it's a straight white male, and they're more competent than we thought they were, they pretended to be dumb at the interview just to get the job, and they do quite well, then we kind of have to get rid of them. We've got to say it's not working out. You're not an ideological fit for the company and that sort of thing. So they're actually actively getting rid of competent people. So I don't know if they're sort of specifically broadcasting that. I would think not. Hey, shareholders and stakeholders, what do you reckon? We're getting rid of anybody who's competent here and hiring the dumbest fucking people we can. That's probably not what you want to put on the front page of the business news. But when I look at any business website, in any Western country, the main stories aren't about new products or achievements. Sometimes there are that achievements that a company's had. Maybe they've, I don't know, won a new contract or built a new building or something. There's some sort of physical achievement, released a new product or designed a new product, and so on. Generally, those stories are rare. Anytime I look at the top stories, it's always virtue signaling. How many black lesbians they hired. Our intake of trainees this year, are all black and brown females. Our executive promotions this year are all black lesbians, and so on. So the people at the very apex that control everything, they're all straight white guys, virtue signaling their ass off about all the black lesbians they've hired. And positions are created, director of diversity and inclusion, and some of these roles are paid very well. Some of the HR directors in some organisations, they're being paid 5-6 times the average wage and perks on top. So anyway, this idea of incompetence and ineptitude only coming in through gender and race quotas, affirmative action and that sort of stuff. It's also coming in from the top, and I was reminded of this sort of not that long ago. I had a meeting with 3 straight white guys, and they were part of sort of the globalist machine, if you will. Very much in support of the globalization project, and so the big multinational firm wants to look after these people. They're kindred spirits. They went to the right schools. They know the right people, and this is more than just cronyism. I mean, it is cronyism, but it's more than that. It's people who are seriously on board with the globalist project, and they're influential. They're being looked after with very well-paying jobs. Now, every now and again they get caught out that they actually have to do something rather than just sit there and spout platitudes. But so I'm in the meeting, and it was in an area where I wouldn't consider myself as expert, so I was rather hoping that they would be. But it took just a few sentences to realise none of these guys had a fucking clue, and whether they were political hires or they were somebody's cousin or nephew, or I don't think they were related to anybody, but they just talking. Not only did they not know what they're doing, as in lack of expertise in the area, but they didn't have the intellectual capacity to come to grips with the complexity of the issues. That was particularly telling, and that was probably more concerning than the other. So trying to talk things through a process to say, okay, we start with A, we go to B, we go to C, we go to D. Now, if we miss E and go straight to F, E is the missing letter here, but they can't sort of get that. And so I was quite surprised. Now, these guys are, very prestigious firm, very well-paid jobs, but they were just clearly absolute amateurs. Shouldn't have had the job. Millions of people better qualified, but they had the right connections and contacts. And what I'm sort of seeing is that there's as we move ever closer to a completely crony economy where government and big multinationals and big media all sort of merge into one, and they become, in fact, already pretty much are, and certainly Britain and the United States and other Western countries, they become the elite, and they get first entitlement of jobs. In the old days of the caveman, you get you get first choice of the best cave and the hottest babes or something, but the best food. But these guys, because they're part of this globalist elite, they're having access to those best paid, most prestigious jobs, but they're not qualified to do it. So competent people are being squeezed out at the top, at the bottom, and in the middle. And there's an ever decreasing nucleus of competent straight white people who are not part of the elite and who are not part of the arrangement. I'm not surprised anymore to see everyone in the room is unqualified. Everyone's got their job through some form of quota or some affirmative action thing. If you do get the odd person that probably could be competent if they wanted to be, or if they were allowed to be, more to the point, these people are too frightened of looking like they know what they're doing, for fear they may fall foul of some diversity and inclusion policy. If they get a bit too keen on doing the job well, then they may be accused of bullying a minority, and then they'd be fired. If the HR director bullies them and accuses them of not being sensitive enough to transgender pronouns or something, that bullying is okay. That's acceptable because it's a morally superior individual on a morally superior cause, dressing down, finger wagging, and giving shit to someone who's morally inferior, who is not working for a good cause. I mean, can you imagine trying to be efficient, doing a good job? I mean, only Hitler would do that. Fascist Nazi Hitler. Whereas if you're talking about gender pronouns and those sorts of things, then you're just a morally superior individual, and that's just how it is. So I've noticed this incompetence at the top, ineptitude at the top, and increasingly these people are also relying on monopolies and oligopolies, cartel pricing, cozy government contracts that are funneled through government crony buddies and this sort of thing. So the people who control the money and control the business say, well, we don't really need folks who know what they're doing. We just need people who are going to go along with this and who are all supportive of it, such as the Globalist project. So that's really their intention. You know, are you useless and stupid? Are you on board with the Global Project? You're hired, buddy. You're assuming you went to the right school or college or something like that. But this is increasingly, concerning to me, at least. I mean, in this sort of short snapshot or narrow snapshot of business, these guys who've been gifted, crony gifted these jobs, and you don't know what they're doing. They happen to have sort of stumbled into a situation where they do need to know what they're doing, and they don't, and so they're floundering and casting aside and huffing and puffing and so on. And it's really sad to see that this is how it's turned out. And who'd have imagined that it would come to this? But there you are, and I see this process accelerating quite quickly. I think the globalists are concerned that they may lose the initiative, and so they've stamped their foot hard on the accelerator to try and push everything forward. Not just in business, but politically and all over the place. So, and I think that's what we're seeing now. A bunch of goons, globalist goons, are starting to panic over are they losing control and are they losing the initiative and so on. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.